Hello and welcome to the very first lesson of Animate. Here's where we'll interface with the software a little bit. You might hear some of my audio stop and start again, and that's if I run into issues as I'm going through. I will pause the recording in order to work through those issues and then restart to get back to you. Alright, so the very first thing I want to do is I want to choose File, and I'm going to choose New. This is going to bring us to the new animation window. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose HTML5 Canvas, Kansas. And then what we're going to do is we're going to choose the pixel width. Enter 800 for width. So for width, I can just notice as I click on this, I hit that, it has the arrows, double pointed arrows. So I can click on this and I can just type in 800, and then I come along in here and I click here and it's 600. Alright, so from here we want to keep the ruler units as pixels. I can change that to inches if I wanted to, or something different by hitting this down drop arrow. I choose not to because I don't want to. Alright, so it says now you click and it creates a new HTML canvas document with all the specified settings. So I push OK. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to dismiss that box, and I'm going to save the workspace. Now in my case, I'm going to put a file. I'm going to do a save as, and that's going to allow me, I'm going to navigate to my desktop and I'm going to put this in Unit 1. Now you don't have to do that. Your saving schema, I think we'll just call it, will be different, but the very first one I'm going to call it 01 working copy.fla. Now heads up information wise, if you ever have to turn this into a folder with more than one individual, or in case my class, so it doesn't actually get mixed up, you can put your last name on it. So it says Sebastian01 working copy.fla. If you have a last name that's somewhat common, you might put your first letter, you know that to be true, so you go ahead and put that. So I'm going to save that, and what it's going to do is it's going to create a bond or a link between this my particular document and the items where it's going to save at. Now, as we go through, let's see, hold on just a moment. Now what I'd like you to do, or I'd like to do, is I'd like to give you an idea of your workspace that you're working with. The first off, this right up here is your application bar. And what the application bar is, it allows you to see what applications are open. You'll notice right now I have Sebastian01 copy.fla canvas. That's the only one I have it right now working. Additionally, this is my stage. So when I talk about access the stage or something along those lines, I'm referring to this particular piece of the document. Down here is your timeline. Lots of detail will go into this, but your timeline is where you're actually going to make these items happen. Right here is your layers, and we're going to have multiple layers right here. When I click on an object in the stage on this side, your properties bar, here's your properties bar right here, will then display what you need to, will then display what you're clicked on. So if I'm clicked on a box over here, the properties of that box will appear over here. If I'm, additionally, if I have items over here for, such as my toolbars and things along those lines, so I want to choose different toolbars. These are the different toolbars over here. Now this next piece of information I want to talk to. This happens a lot. Individuals in the classroom, someone's going to ask me, they're going to rearrange something. They're going to move something somewhere. They're going to somehow get something too large like this, or they're going to somehow undock this so it's larger, or somehow move the tools over here, or get this to move over here, and then they're going to, I can't do it. If you ever do Windows, if that ever happens, you can do Windows, Workspaces, Reset, and the one we usually use is Essentials. These are all different types. I've got Animator, Classic, Debug, blah, 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 blah. If I click Reset Essentials, are you sure you want to reset Essentials, the original layout? Yes. That is so powerful. Let me do that again. Windows, Workspaces, Reset Essentials. Now there are other workspaces. Workspaces, Classic. This is my Classic workspace. You know, some people like this. So you have your image, you have your toolbar over here, you have different items over here, and if I want to move it again, Windows, Workspaces, I can change it back to Essentials. Now, I know that I just kind of went through that a few times, but understand that that has come up multiple times, and I want you to be aware. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to import assets that we are going to use. And then when you're talking assets, that could be background images, it could be normal images, it could be little animations, things along those lines. So I'm going to do a file, I'm going to import, and I'm going to import to library. Now import to stage, we'll just put it on the stage, but in this case I'm going to import to library, right? And then what happens is it gives me an import screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to where my files are. Your file navigation location will be different, and I will show you that in the long run. So we'll do desktop, and I'm going to do unit 1, and I'm going to import all these files. So I can click multiple files. I'm going to control each one of them. I'm just going to push control button as I click on each one of them. Now, in your book, when you take a look at it, eventually, because, you know, textbooks, it'll say background, photo 1, photo 2, and photo 3. What I've done is I've put the names of kind of what they look like in the video to make it easier for you to import. So I'm going to open that. Now, in that particular case, it should now all be in the library. So there's all my items that are in the library: floor, photo 1, photo 2, and photo 3. Notice that because I put the names first and the background, floor, and then I reversed them. That's interesting. But I put the names first here. It actually put them in alphabetical order right here already. Okay, so now we've imported to the library. Now we have to get from the library to the stage. So what we want to do is we want to do I can do window library to open the library panel, but right now it's right there, so I don't necessarily have to do that. We want to select the background image in the library panel, which is this one right here, and we want to drag the background image item onto the stage. Remember when we could import into the stage? That was another way to do it, but right now I'm just going to grab this background and I'm going to put it on the stage. And lo and behold, my background image, which is this wood floor, is now on the stage. Now you'll note that it is not quite big enough to fill up the entire stage. I could modify it. I can also I can kind of put it in the middle if I want to, that particular way. I think I can change the size, but right now we're just going to leave it like it is. So we've done that. Now that we've got the layer on the background, the background on the stage, it is actually part of layer 1. And the way you get images to work together is to the user when they look at it, or the final consumer of your end product, it actually looks from the top down and sees the way these images are stacked. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to rename this layer, and we're going to rename it background. So I can right click, I believe, it doesn't give me a rename option. I can double click there, and I'm going to call this background. Now that allows us to see that this particular layer has the background image of which I've just placed. Great. So from there, I'm going to make sure the layer is locked. You'll notice that I click this, and what that does is that prevents me from moving the layer, because as we get more layers around, I can actually move that. Now you notice I also have this eyeball. I could click on this and hide all the layers, or I could click here to show that it's not shown. This allows you, when you're working with other layers, to specifically show that layer and not the other layers, because in the long run, all the layers will be on top of each other. And as you start to modify different elements of the layer, it's difficult to get to some of it, but not all of it. And you want to be able to differentiate between the two. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a new layer. So I want to do insert, timeline, and I'm going to do layer. And you'll notice it's going to go right above it because this is locked. And I want, I want to rename it to photo 1, because lo and behold, it's going to probably end up with photo 1, right? So here's my photo 1. And now it's 2 layers, the background layer. Select the top layer called photo 1. So now I've selected it. You'll notice the one that I've selected has highlights on it. So this is background, this is photo 1. So there's my photo 1. And I want to choose Windows Library to open it. I've got it right there. And I want to go ahead and grab photo 1 and put it on top of this particular item. Now, what's really important here is that if I have background selected and I move it over, it's going to put it on the background layer. If I have photo 1 selected, it's going to put it on the actual photo 1 layer. Now, if I close this, I'm going to make sure where I can't see it to make it easier to see. Plus, you'll be able to see the difference. Because if I take Carnival Ride photo 1 and I move it over here, there's my photo 1. Now, notice my photos are a little off as far as size. You could rearrange that, but for our purposes, it's perfectly fine. Hold on just a minute. So what I've done or what I'm going to do in order to modify the size of these things, I can click on this, right click, and I want to choose transform, and I'm going to do a free transform, okay? And what that allows me to do is I see all of these little buttons here, which are handles. I can actually left click and hold on these, and I can drag them where they fit on my space, right? So I want to take this one, I want to move it down here so it fits the end of my space, and it's got my transforms locked in, which is another thing. Okay, so after a lot of fiddling with my images, I got them to look like this. And basically what happens is you can click on the image, or you can right click and choose transform and free transform. And when you're doing that, what you want to make sure is you click on these handles and then you move them. Interesting thing about the handles are it moves both ends, so you have to rearrange and manipulate. Now, you'll notice as I clicked here, it actually selected the background. That's because I accidentally clicked off the lock. So I'm going to click the lock back on, and so now I can't click the background, and that allows me to work with the photos. So now I've got my photo 1 there, and I want to insert my photo 2. So I'm going to go to Insert Timeline Layer again. So Insert Timeline Layer, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to add this, rename the third layer to photo 2. So I've got photo 1. Notice it just inserted layer 3. I'm going to call this photo 2, photo 2. And I am going to lock my layer, my photo 1, and I'm going to not show those to make it easier to work with. Then I'm going to bring in my food court for photo 2. I'm going to grab it right here, and I'm going to bring it over. Oh, it didn't like it. Hold on. Oh, that's because I chose my good example, my photo 1. I chose the wrong layer, so I'll make sure to choose photo 2. Now grab my food court and move it over. And I'm going to go ahead and insert photo 3 and rearrange things where they need to be rearranged. I'll be right back. All right, so what I've done is I've taken a timeout and I've rearranged the pictures to be a certain size, both width and height, to match what we needed. And it's good that we went through and I showed you how to do that yourself because of the fact that I'm going to go ahead and do it in the images that I upload for data. So that way you can kind of manipulate those, but it gives you a good idea how to do that. So when you get the pre-made pretty images that are the right size, you know how that came about. And you'll notice that I've added all 3 photos as well as the background and arranged them appropriately. And you'll notice each one of them are on a different page. A good way to verify that is I can simply turn them off one at a time. So actually I'm just going to turn them all off. So there's my background. You'll know I can see my background. As a result, I know that's on background. If I click on photo 1, there's my photo 1. And then if I click on photo 2, there's my photo 2. And then my photo 3. So I made sure that all photos corresponded with where they belonged. And the next step of this video is we're going to work with the keyframes and add elements of keyframes and play with the properties. All right, now look for part 2.